Figuring out how to put a project together or where to start a project can be really tricky. And the answer is that there is no right place to start because you have so many different data points and so many different priorities. Your priority might be budget or timeline. We need to open quick. We can only spend so much money, or quality. We want it to be a 5-star, whatever. Or it might be that, I want to make the best whatever of your industry. And it doesn't really matter. But the point is that there's all these different things that have to be addressed, but which one you start with, there's no right answer. So I really do look at it like you're triangulating yourself within the universe, really. And the universe is all the different data points, whether it's, demographics or budget or timeline or precedent or competitors or whatever, all these different points. Again, there's not one place where your idea has to start. There's not one place where we have to go to solve the problems, but there, through conversation, through trying to understand intent, we can usually get to a point where we can identify the 2 or 3 things that we do need to solve first, or at least create a rough draft around that we can then use as reference points to do other things. Or what can we lock down? Okay, we want to be in a certain area. We know that our budget is X. Well, that doesn't mean that it has to be a certain size because we can adjust the budget. There's all sorts of different ways to start with any given data point and then make options from there. That's why so much of what I do, I look at it as adjusting the dials, because we need to understand a few of them so that we can then adjust other ones. So if one dial is set really high or set as a priority, like a budget or a timeline we need to open in 6 months, whatever, we then need to look at the other ones. So if you're someone who says, I need to have this open in 12 months, that affects the real estate. That affects who we hire as the contractor. That affects how much we propose to build. If you say, I have a budget of a certain amount of dollars, we can spend that in a more expensive way relative to cost to square foot and a smaller facility, or maybe we can blend it out over a larger facility and spend less dollars per square foot. It also might affect what type of space you're looking for. Is it walk-in ready, or is it something that we're going to need to do a lot of work to just to get it ready for us? So my point is that these dials, as we adjust them up and down, have a tremendous impact on how we sort of locate ourselves within a project. And they adjust constantly, but creating that sort of baseline profile is a huge part of how I like to move projects forward. So in my mind, I talk a lot about the idea of intent. So, if it's using a cooking analogy, do we want it to be sweet or do we want it to be savory? And that can help us understand what type of ingredients we're going to have. Like, is it for kids? Is it for adults? Is it 24 hours? Is it for events? Like, these ingredients are very different depending on what it is that you're trying to actually produce. And further, the way that we actually put them together matters. So baking is fairly recipe sciencey based, but if we adjust the ratios, even of the same ingredients, we get very different results. And furthermore, the way we sort of process those ingredients, the way we handle the butter in this case, also leads to very different results along the way. And so, the techniques we use do matter. The difference between microwaving something or stir frying it. And that's really why I use this scrambled eggs analogy, because, chefs use it as a litmus test for your skill, because it's not about the ingredients at that point. It's not about anything beyond the technique. So, even in an example, when you've got two different businesses that are in the same, objectively speaking, they're both fitness places. They're very different though. So the intent is different. That means the execution is different. The materials are different. Everything's different because of the intent. And this is me presenting a project back in the day, but it's really just showing the idea that when I'm presenting stuff and when I was teaching and I would ask students to present, I would always say, use your words. Don't tell me what's on the wall. I can see the shapes. I can see what's on the wall. I don't want to know what it looks like because I can see that. And Buckminster Fuller talks about this, where the idea that we are not ignoring aesthetics, but we are using it as a data point at the end. So we want to like the things we're paying millions of dollars for, of course. But if we start there, it's a very difficult place to start. So to me, this all ends up in a script, if you will, or a place that we organize all of the initial thoughts. That way, when it comes to actually putting the project together, we have this baseline that is it has pulled together the intent and the ingredients or the characters or however you want to go about looking at it. I use writing and cooking analogies a lot because people have done a lot more of that than putting buildings together for the most part. It's really just about understanding priorities so that we can locate ourselves as a starting point, as a way to organize ourselves within the world so that we can understand how to move forward. Because my focus is on helping people build stuff. And without understanding that, it's really hard to do. And so by understanding where we are in all among all of the different data points, among all the different stars that we could potentially pick to start with, if we can do that, it helps us know what to start with and how to adjust and how to make real progress. So I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.